Hey, what's up guys? Today I'll show you a horror thriller film, Vanishing on 7th Street. Spoiler ahead, watch out and take care. The movie begins in a crowded movie theater. The projectionist is working in the darkness with only a headlamp strapped to his forehead. He makes sure all the movie reels are playing well, and then he goes to his desk. He flips open a book about the 16th century settler colony called Roanoke that mysteriously disappeared without a trace. He momentarily goes out of the cinema and flirts with the girl working in the concession stand. She gives a hint that she'd like him to take her out on a date. The projectionist goes back inside and discovers that everyone is gone. All that's left are people's clothes lying on the floor. The whole mall has gone dark too. When he walks around, he sees that everyone in the mall has disappeared as well. With his headlamp illuminating the way, he continues to walk around until he meets a security guard holding a flashlight. Both of them have no idea what's happening. The guard shines his flashlight into the department store and remarks that he's seeing something in the darkness. He ventures closer, and then his flashlight goes out, and he disappears. A few seconds later, the headlamp on the projectionist's head goes out too, and he is swallowed by the darkness. Inside a hospital, a nurse named Rosemary is the only one left. She is holding a flashlight and frantically looking for other people in the dark hospital. Rosemary then comes across an operating room. A patient is lying on the operating table with his chest open. It seems like it was mid-surgery when the surgeons and nurses suddenly disappeared and left the patient lying on the table under a pair of bright lights. However, the anesthetic is now wearing off, and the patient is regaining consciousness due to the pain he's feeling. Suddenly, dark shadows come into the room and the lights flicker off. When Rosemary shines her flashlight on the table, the patient is gone. Across the city, news reporter Luke wakes up in his bed. He looks for his female co-anchor, who spent the night with him, but she is gone. Beside his bed is a lit scented candle. He blows it out and continues to call for his co-anchor as he stands up and gets ready for work. When he gets to the ground floor of his apartment building, he begins to be curious when he sees that there's no guard in the lobby. Luke picks up the newspaper and scans through it. When he steps outside, he realizes that the newspaper he's holding is from yesterday. He also steps on a man's glasses and finally sees that the streets of the city are empty except for the clothes people left behind. Luke heads for the TV station he works at. On his co-anchor's desk is a picture of her with her husband, implying that she's having an extramarital affair with Luke. On Luke's desk is a picture of him with another girl, and he looks at it fondly for a moment before continuing to look around. 3 days later, Luke is wandering the streets, scavenging for batteries he can use to keep the various flashlights strapped on him working. The sun is dwindling, and every day, nighttime goes on longer and the daytime gets shorter. The rule for survival is that you need to have light sources on hand, or else the shadows will get you, and you will disappear. The shadows sometimes take on the silhouette of people, and they even whisper in human voices. Luke gets inside a car and tries to look for anything he can use. A man comes up to him and begs for a flashlight because he has run out already. But Luke doesn't let him in. The man frantically bikes away, but the shadows catch up to him. Luke then sees a nearby bar with the lights still on. He goes inside and pours himself a drink. The lights flicker, so he goes down to the basement. There is a generator there that keeps the electricity in the bar on. Luke encounters a small kid named James, who's the only survivor in the bar. He is the bartender's son, and his mother went to the church and told him to keep the generator running. James points a gun at Luke, but he convinces the kid to drop it so they can be allies. At that time, Rosemary also arrives at the bar. She's looking for her 9-month-old baby who has disappeared. She recounts that she was working at the hospital and stepped out to light a cigarette when everyone disappeared and darkness came. She ran back home to get to her baby, but she was too late. She hoped that maybe the baby's father took him to the bar, since he likes going there. Suddenly, they hear screams. Luke rushes outside and sees the projectionist inside a lit bus stop. The shadows are creeping up on them, but Luke lights a flare to deter the shadows. He then picks up the projectionist and carries him through the streets. Meanwhile, James hears his mother's voice and opens the door. But it's not really her, just the shadows trying to lure James outside. Rosemary prevents the boy from going out and makes him realize that his mother is never coming back. Luke and the projectionist make it inside the bar. The projectionist has a head injury and is in shock. Rosemary checks him out, and he appears to be fine, aside from being rattled. He tells the others that he lost his headlamp, the shadows took him somewhere, and he was struggling to breathe. Then the light came back on, and the shadows went away. The group gets into a philosophical discussion as to why this phenomenon is happening. Rosemary thinks it's God punishing them, but Luke is an atheist, so he disapproves of that theory. The projectionist remembers the book he's reading and tells the others about the remote colony that disappeared centuries ago. The reason behind their disappearance is unknown, and there is no trace of them left except for the words Croatone carved into a fence post. The projectionist thinks that something like that is happening to the world now, and maybe the world is resetting itself. Luke chooses to be positive amid everything that's going on. He shares that during the 3 days he was alone, he kept repeating his name out loud so he can affirm his existence and that he deserves to live in this world. He believes his doings made him survive. He rallies the others and tells them that maybe the world isn't ending, but is just beginning anew. Luke reminisces back to 3 days ago when he was at the TV station. He saw footage of the co-anchor disappearing in the middle of a broadcast. A live feed from Chicago was also playing on a loop, featuring a man encouraging people to maintain sources of light as a precaution against the encroaching dark shadows. The man shared that when the blackout in Chicago happened, he heard his dead brother's voice calling out to him. He warned that the shadows will trick them into stepping out of the light. The electricity in the station went out. Right away, the shadows tried to capture Luke, but he managed to open the window blinds and let in sunlight to keep the shadows away. Luke gets the idea that maybe the shadows are trying to trap the last remaining survivors inside the bar. He believes that they need to get out of there fast before the generator fails and the projectionist succumbs to his concussion. Luke suggests that they restart a truck found 5 blocks away that still has batteries remaining. He tasks James with staying behind with the projectionist and watching over him. Meanwhile, Luke and Rosemary go to the truck and try to restart it. They push the vehicle to the bar, but on the way, Luke's ankle acts up and he has to stop. The projectionist is now suffering from hallucinations. In his fever dream, he asks James to turn on the jukebox and play a song. James obeys, and the song makes him think about his family. This makes James distracted, and he doesn't notice that the jukebox is consuming too much electricity from the generator. Luke shares with Rosemary that he had a girlfriend he loved very much, but he left her behind to pursue a new job. Rosemary comforts him and tells him that his girlfriend is waiting for him. Suddenly, they see a young child standing down the street, holding a flashlight. Luke tries to get to her, but the shadows start coming for them, and the light sources that he and Rosemary have are no longer working. Rosemary starts the headlights of the car to keep the shadows away, but the battery is running out, and they don't have much time left. Meanwhile, James disappears into the tunnels under the bar. The projectionist gets up and tries to search for him, but this is all in his head. James didn't really disappear, and the projectionist is still lying on the pool table. The generator short circuits, and the projectionist is soon swallowed by the darkness. James is spared because he's wearing a light-up necklace. Rosemary and Luke run to a nearby social center. She finds matches in a drawer, and Luke lights a torch to keep the shadows at bay. Suddenly, Rosemary sees a baby crying under a streetlight. Thinking it's her son, she runs out of the center and into the street. But it's all a trick by the shadows, and they consume Rosemary. Luke makes it back to the bar and reunites with James. The generator is still hanging on, but it will be dead soon. The two of them try to restart the truck by connecting it to the generator. Luke instructs the kid to start the car's ignition while he handles the generator in the bar. They get the car started and they leave, but the car stops in front of the church where James' mom went to. Luke instructs him to keep his foot on the gas pedal or else they'll lose power. But James is tricked by the shadows, and he leaves the car to go inside the church to look for his mother. Luke can't go after him because he has to keep his foot on the pedal. He calls after the kid, but he is too far gone. Luke decides to leave, and he speeds out of the city. However, he stops when he sees the words Croatone written on a bridge. Something about it makes him change his mind. He then races back to the church and crashes into the door with the truck. Luke tells James to get in the car, but the kid walks closer to the altar, where several lit candles are placed around his mother's clothes, implying that she had already disappeared. Luke gets out of the car to walk toward James, but the car's headlights turn off, and he disappears in a blink of an eye. James gets scared and hides behind the lit candles as the shadows approach him. He keeps muttering that he exists, affirming that his existence will not be snuffed out. Morning comes, and James wakes up. A single lit candle remained throughout the night and protected him. The same girl that Luke and Rosemary saw earlier appears suddenly. She's holding a solar flashlight and is wearing light-up sneakers, which explains how she has survived for days on her own. The sun is shining outside when they venture out of the church. They find a police horse nearby, and they take it as a sign of hope that they will survive. Together, the two kids ride the horse out of the city as daylight fades. As it gets dark, the girl's solar flashlight comes on and shines in the darkness. The movie ends with the three shadows of Rosemary, the projectionist, and Luke watching over the two children as they ride a Ferrari horse to safety, with the mystery still lurking in this world. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.